is Joanne. Okay, come on, Mom. Come on. Hi, Joanne. No, come on here. Where are you gonna go? Right here. Let me go. Let me get ready and go, sweetie. Mom and I. No, you sit in there. I'll sit in here. Mom, we'll sit here. We're fine.
Hey, Mama Judy.
See? Hi, honey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, hon. How's your mom?
Mom is doing well. She just came over to dawdle in the house a little bit. So
Well, please tell her I said hello.
I certainly will. I certainly will. I wish I can talk her into coming to the convention, but that's a bit much for her.
You think what?
I said, I wish I can talk her into coming to convention, but that would be a bit much for her.
You think so?
Yeah. She's not ready for that many people yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know where he is, Mom said.
Who?
Gizzy.
Well, look how fancy y'all are. Maybe I better go put some lipstick on.
I put lipstick on. I had these on all day because I went to the doctor.
She always has to look cute for a doctor.
Yeah, because he's cute.
He actually
I
really
think
is.
that's why Walter always goes in with me. And he's my heart doctor.
Of all doctors.
Pitty pat, pitty pat.
And you said he's cute, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. I have another thing that says Francine Julius Edwards. What's that?
Looks like picture of a little picture,
Hi, Joanne.
emoji
Hi, Joanne.
of a church. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I wonder what
So-
that is.
Did you log in accidentally on your phone by any chance?
No. I
It
haven't logged
happens
into
to
my-
me all the time. I get logged in twice. I don't know how that's going. I don't know what's going on with mine, but I'm only on here once now, though.
Does that happen if you use two different devices?
It does.
You
for
know,
me.
sometimes they say if you don't log out of,
Yeah.
One.
if you've been in it before
Oh.
and you don't log out of it and it stays open.
Oh,
And then
maybe
when you
that's
log-
it, because I was just on a call a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't come all the way out. Okay, I'm going to put my lipstick on. I'll be right back. Not to be outdone.
Oh my goodness. You all are funny.
That as well, 1E.
I see a spill cutter in here, I wonder. I have one too.
Yeah, I think
Is
that
this yours?
it might be because mine was.
I
like
think this is yours.
Okay.
We have one.
Yep.
And I keep it. I mean, I use it when I
think-
do my thing, so.
Mom.
Hi, Linda. She didn't see you and you're muted,
I haven't seen her. I unmuted, Mom.
but she's muted.
I know, but she can hear me.
Oh. Linda, can you hear Monica?
Yes.
She doesn't believe her.
It's good to see you. How are you? Oh my gosh, Mom. You're
I'm
better
good.
than
How are
you.
you? How are
Wonderful.
you?
How are you?
Great.
I have to tell you, when I got my painting,
Yes.
I actually planned that for a bedroom that is like a sky blue color, and I just thought that was so beautiful. But until I could get the room rearranged, I had it in my vestibule. I want you to know I get so many compliments on it, I can't move it. It's,
Oh,
the first thing
that's
that
so
people
nice.
notice when they come in the door.
I
Yes.
love it. It's the perfect spot
It
for
really
it.
is. It's
Oh,
wonderful.
thank
You
you.
were so talented. You were so very talented.
Thank you.
It reminds me of Monica when she was a little one at the beach.
Oh.
My thighs were much bigger.
Monica.
Well, I painted a similar one during the Floyd riots, and that's why I named it Black Lives Matter. Because
where's that one? Are you auctioning that one?
No, I have it hanging right up here.
Oh.
Who's to show it?
See if you can see it.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I love that.
What happened?
I love that. That's adorable.
I
I like that
Yeah.
one too.
yeah.
Is everybody ready with their questions?
How are you, Nancy?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good, good, good. Trying to make it
Good.
here.
Yeah. All righty.
Hi,
Settle
buddy.
here. Hi.
Hello.
I heard you got visited by Bert today.
You heard wrong.
Oh, she didn't stop by?
I went out and when she called, I was out. So she's coming over tomorrow morning.
Gotcha.
I'll have everything tomorrow morning and we'll work on it tomorrow.
Yay.
Yep.
Lot
my day.
going on.
I actually usually, when I have this, I just do it on my lap.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Okay. I don't need it.
Y'all are freaking frack.
I'm telling you.
But I love her.
Of course.
Of course.
She's always ready to kill me. Yeah.
Well, she has to catch you first.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Quiet as that's kept. I can say that she
If she
can't catch
stays
me.
within 4 feet, I can catch her.
Take her shoe off.
So when she pinches me at convention, I have to remember
Yeah.
why, right?
Yeah.
How are ya? Long time no see, folks. We're excited about Rep Eskamani. She is actually the person we need to have in the room tonight after this phenomenal kickoff we had last week in Tallahassee.
Yes.
We're starting off the first week like this. I feel like we've been hit by a truck already.
Mhm.
So much more to come. So much more.
I
So we're
still
going to
feel like
be-
we've been hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're being run over.
But
We
we've
shall
got
rise.
the moxie to deal with these folks.
I love that picture.
Yeah. We will deal with them.
Definitely. Hi,
We will.
Mary Freeman.
Feel the wrath. Where is she?
She has to unmute.
I don't see her.
Seen her in forever.
Hey, Margaret.
Hey, Margaret. Hello, Jennifer.
You're
Good
muted.
evening, Francine.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm hanging in there.
Good.
Hanging in there. There's a lot going on.
Mhm.
Mary Forte Nemouge is the group leader this week for the group that's in, actually, it is, oh, it's
13.
Martha Settles.
9 rather,
region.
9.
Yes, that's
9.
there today. That's there this week.
Yes,
Right.
it is. We have 4, maybe 4, 6 people up there, so.
And Vivian Light Johnson and
And
Yolanda
Yolanda.
Russell just popped up saying they're good evening from Tallahassee, so.
Yes.
I think there are 2 or 3 from Patty's Club too
Yes.
Good, good, good.
that will be there.
Good to see you, Mary Freeman. Haven't seen you in forever.
And no. How are you and how is Shelby?
Oh, well, I'm okay. Shelby is okay, and we were very worried about him.
Yeah.
But it turns out, after seeing all the doctors, that apparently he was given some medication that caused him to
All
be
of
in serious trouble.
Mhm.
I mean, I took him to the emergency room and his pulse was 40. And
I remember.
I can't believe that they give somebody drugs that would harm them. And it just,
Sometimes it's when more than one drug, it's the interaction between drugs. That
Yeah.
happens
but
frequently when
he's
different
better.
doctors don't talk to one another or their technology isn't connected. Unfortunately, it happens.
The only
lot more than
thing
it
wrong
should.
with him is that he's got little bit of tremors in his hands,
Oh.
you know, which is kind of normal for old people like us. You know, but no, he's doing good, doing real good.
Good.
So thank you so much. And
Yes, tell him we asked about him and
I
we are
will.
sending him.
He might come in and peek at his daughter, Anna,
Good.
our adopted daughter. I have my
Oh,
Anna.
Anna, yeah,
I have my
Yeah,
Anna
that's his
shirt
kid.
on.
that's a kid. And I see Claudette Pelletier. I haven't seen you in a while. How are
Oh,
you?
my goodness.
Wow. Yes.
Oh, hello.
Hi there.
I'm here. How are you? Hi, Francine.
Hi there, how are you?
So
Good.
let's just make sure we're watching the room.
Yes, I'm looking now.
Okay.
I had to make sure I had the bio up and ready.
Hello, Claudette. It's Margaret Settles.
I see. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see, well, good to hear you.
Yeah, I know. I don't have my picture. Yeah, but I'm here. Good to see you.
Good, thank
Did
you.
everybody hear about Mary Green's husband?
Yes.
I just
No,
did.
I know he was sick. How's he
He
doing?
passed away.
Oh, no.
I
Yeah.
talked with Mary
Mhm.
today.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
How
Yeah,
is she?
she's doing well with the circumstance.
Oh,
So, yeah,
Oh,
shocking.
Mm.
yeah.
I was not made aware. I will reach out because I actually
It's in your club. up
know him
here.
pretty well. Yeah. Oh, that makes me sad.
Our special guest is in the room.
There she is. Our representative is in the house.
Hi, everyone. How are
How
you?
are you?
Y'all are
We're-
a sight for sore eyes. Let me tell
Oh,
you.
you're a
Thank
sight.
you.
You are a sight. We know that your time is valuable because you're probably being pulled in 1,000 different directions right now. Please, thank you so much for joining us. Let me go ahead and pull you up so that folks can see you.
Awesome.
But we want to thank you so much for
Whoops.
joining us this evening. Francine, will you pin her, please? I would appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. We know that last week, we were talking about this just a moment ago. Last week was the first week of session, and the damage that was done or will potentially be done. I mean, we know that the train is coming really fast, and
Absolutely.
seriously, I mean, just right out the gate, we know that it's going to be pretty bad. We wanted to have you here first, because of the update and change to the abortion bill,
Absolutely.
which is absolutely just awful. But also because you have always been so good and helpful with us, just the way you have a way of encapsulating, these bad bills and making them understandable for us, rememberable, easy for us to remember. And you have such a good grasp on legislation. So I just want to thank you so much for just getting us started this week. If you could let us know what you perceive are going to be the biggest dangers and harms that are trains coming down the track, we'd appreciate that. And Francine, if you would go ahead and introduce our representative, that would be fabulous.
It would be my honor.
All right. Can folks hear me okay? Because I do not hear you anymore. Okay.
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Rep Eskamani?
She's frozen.
Did she freeze?
Yeah.
Reps.
Hey, can folks hear me okay?
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Awesome. Sorry about that.
That's
No
I lost
okay.
connection for a second, but I think we're good.
Okay,
So,
great.
Francine,
Yeah.
if you would go ahead and read the
Yes.
introduction so the rep can get started.
Absolutely. Anna Eskamani is a bold fighter for Florida families and everyday people like you and me. Born and raised in Orlando, she's the daughter of working class Iranian immigrants who came to this country in search of the American dream. Anna went to public school. She went to the University of Central Florida and is a nonprofit professional. Currently, she's seeking her PhD, go girl, in public administration. She ran for office for the first time as a candidate in 2018. I remember that. And flipped the legislative seat and is proud to serve as a state representative for District 42, winning both of her reelection campaigns in a landslide. She currently serves as the chair of both the Orange County Legislative Delegation and the Florida Legislative Energy and Climate Caucus. I know that. A track record of kind sacrifice, endless hard work, and ironclad values. Anna is known across the state and nation as a leader who is unbothered, unbossed, and committed to the people of Florida. Every bit of that is the truth. And personally knowing you, Anna, Rep Eskamani, we are just so pleased and honored to have you. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Francine. And thank you so much to our president as well, and to all of our region chairs and local chairs and leadership committee members. I'm just always so humbled to share space and to, of course, give you that update from Tallahassee here in the state capital of what we have before us, because it is not pretty. And so, as Francine mentioned, I grew up in Orlando, and actually, I always want to make sure folks know that I am a longtime DWCF member and was a board member of the state board before I ran for office. Actually, I was a secretary back in, I guess it was 2015, 2016. So it's always an honor to share space with y'all, and let's dive into it because there's a lot going on. So our president mentioned the abortion ban. So I want to start there, but I'll also do my best to integrate a few other items, and I'll open up for questions. So as we were beginning legislative session and the governor was about to give his state of the state address, the abortion ban gets filed. And this is a 6-week abortion ban, which is what we expected. Sorry, I'm not going to act surprised, but a 6-week abortion ban that would ban abortion at a point where people do not even know they're pregnant yet. Now, the unique thing about this bill is that it does add back very narrow exceptions between 6 to 15 weeks. Survivors of rape, incest, for example, if they provide documentation, could potentially be able to still secure an abortion before 15 weeks. So we all know that when it comes to situations of sexual assault, many people do not report it, let alone have documentation that early on in their trauma and their experience of trauma. And to make a bad situation worse, exceptions that exist on paper don't always exist in real life, because what a 6-week abortion ban ends up doing is that it pushes people who provide care out of the state. And so even if you have documentation, you struggle to find a doctor willing to provide you with care because you've essentially banned abortion in the state. So I share that because it's really important that we clap back when Republicans try to pretend to be less extreme by putting back in some degree of exceptions. This is why I've always really challenged folks to not fall for the exception trap, because exceptions don't make an abortion ban better. I mean, a ban is a ban, regardless of what exceptions you put, in the language or not. With that said, the bill doesn't stop there. No, the bill actually allocates $25 million and reoccurring funds to pregnancy crisis centers, also known as fake anti-abortion clinics. So when you drive around Florida, you see those big billboards that, say things like scared, pregnant, call this number. These are fake clinics. They are basically sharing anti-abortion sentiment and lies to patients who come to them. And they're going to be getting $25 million more in the state budget, a huge increase of what they get today. That is about a increase of 5 times to what they get right now. And so the bill also prohibits any telehealth from being used for the abortion pill. So as a reminder, in Florida, we are not only a mandatory delay state, meaning in order to access an abortion, you have to go into a health center, leave and come back 24 hours later after meeting with the doctor. But we also require you to physically go to the health center. You can't do your 24-hour visit through Zoom or through the phone. You have to physically go to the clinic, even if you're choosing the abortion pill, which is an option available to folks who are early on in their pregnancy. You can typically access the abortion pill up to 11 weeks of gestation. And so even something as simple as that, you have to physically go into a health center. In other states, they've been making the abortion pill more readily available through telehealth. Of course, pharmacies are now able to with a prescription, provide it. Walgreens decided not to do that because they fell to the pressure of the anti-abortion extremists. But the reality is that the abortion pill is incredibly safe, as is all abortion. And this was one option to try to expand care. But the state of Florida in this bill prohibits any telehealth from also being used for abortion care. They explicitly state that. So the bill is bad in so many ways. But of course, I think the biggest emphasis for us from a messaging standpoint is the 6-week abortion ban, because that is not popular in Florida. No matter how many times you try to poll test this or change the questions up a little bit, Floridians time and time again have demonstrated that they do not support a 6-week abortion ban, that this interferes with that personal decision between a woman, her family, her doctor, and her faith. And politicians don't belong in this personal medical decision. I do want to add that, before I ran for office, as was noted in my bio, I worked at Planned Parenthood. I worked at Planned Parenthood, Southwest and Central Florida, for 6 years before I ran for office. Many of you I met while working at Planned Parenthood. So these issues are very personal for me as someone of reproductive age, but also as someone who worked at Planned Parenthood and knows just the real life consequences of these bans, of these restrictions on very vulnerable and marginalized people. And Florida is now seeing an increase. We've seen about 140% increase of out-of-state patients coming to us from Georgia to seek abortion care, because Georgia has a 6-week abortion ban. So when you ban abortion in Florida, you do something like a 6-week ban in Florida, you're not just impacting our people, you're actually impacting those who come to the state who now will have to travel even farther to seek care. So it's very devastating. It is the antithesis of freedom, the free state of Florida. I don't think you're supposed to take away people's bodily autonomy and their rights, but this is the reality of where we are. The bill has not been agendaed yet. The rumor is that it could be agendaed this Thursday morning in its first healthcare committee stop on the House side. But of course, Floridians, reproductive freedom, Planned Parenthood, others will keep everyone abreast of as the bill progresses. But this is an all hands on deck situation. Like, if you have not been to Tallahassee yet, or you're planning to make a trip up, as soon as these bills get agendaed, we need you here. And the reason why I say that is because we don't really get much notice. At most, we'll get a 48-hour notice that a bill is going to be heard. And that's not a lot of time to mobilize. but we know we can do it. And we just got to make sure people show up and people know what's happening in Tallahassee so they can be there to help, at the very least, demonstrate public opposition to these policies. And I saw, someone drop in the chat a comment about House Bill 999, which is another bad bill that I had in committee today that I'm happy to talk more about. This was the attack on higher education. This bill still passed, unfortunately, by party line vote. However, the room was incredible. I mean, the room was packed. About 150 people testified in opposition to this bill. And it's just so important for us to send that message, right? Because when the media reports on these stories, we want to be able to tell that story to a larger, not just Florida audience, but a national audience, right? Because we're in this situation where Governor DeSantis is using the legislature and his bully pulpit to run for office in the presidential level. So we have to warn the country what's at stake, and Floridians showing up in opposition does help us do that. So I just shared a lot about the abortion ban. I can talk about any issue that's on y'all's mind, but I will step back and see what questions have come up, as I saw some questions about the abortion ban. And reminder, we have a 15-week abortion ban right now with no exceptions. That is really bad just currently. I mean, we've seen situations with patients having to leave the state to access care, especially survivors of rape and incest have had to leave the state for care. We see situations with wanted pregnancies of patients in those situations getting a diagnosis where the pregnancy is no longer viable and the doctor is not comfortable providing them with an abortion. They have to leave the state to do that. And so 15 weeks is already bad, but it's going to get a lot worse. And of course, we do not feel confident that the state Supreme Court is going to protect us. Unique thing about this bill, by the way, is the implementation date is based upon Supreme Court decision. So usually a bill has implementation date of July 1st of that year. This bill will not be implemented until the Supreme Court decides on the 15-week abortion ban, which creates so much uncertainty for doctors and patients, because you could literally have an appointment made and that appointment might get canceled whenever that court case gets decided. So all around, like I said, a terrible bill, but so important to spread the word and get more folks involved. So I'll step back, and if you want to read questions out to me, or I can grab them too. But,
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
I have Stacy Croto who asked, can you speak to the Postal Service part of the abortion bill regarding the medical abortion?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you, Stacy, and good to have you here. So the bill, well, let me backtrack a little bit, because the abortion pill is at stake nationally right now. So typically when you take the abortion, we make the decision to end your pregnancy through the pill. It's a two-step process. So it's one pill that you take to actually loosen the context of your cervix, and then you take a second pill to loosen your cervix so that the products of conception are basically released like a very heavy period, right? So it's a two-pill process. In shorthand, it's called Mifi and Muso. Those are the two names of the drugs. Mifepristone right now, which is FDA approved for 20 years to safely end your pregnancy, and also be used, by the way, for other types of reproductive or healthcare needs. A religious organization, a far-right organization, has filed a lawsuit in a Texas federal courtroom to challenge the FDA's approval of mifepristone, which could have the consequences of overriding FDA approval across the country, which means that the first part of the abortion pill, mifepristone, could be totally stripped away from us. And we're asking the FDA to hold the line, regardless of what this Trump judge decides. We're asking the FDA to allow for emergency use, even if this decision goes down the way that we think it's going to go down. But when I say like things are bad, like I'm not being dramatic about this. Like not only do we have these fights in Tallahassee, but even the abortion pill at a national level is at risk right now. But the heart of your question, Stacey, so the bill is very restrictive when it comes to, as I mentioned, the telehealth access for the abortion pill, and also just not being able to mail abortion pills. And it doesn't criminalize patients explicitly. Like the criminalization continues to be on doctors. But I will say that there's no way to enforce any abortion ban without eventually criminalizing patients. And we've already seen it in Florida's past, and we've seen it in other states where patients, people who help patients, parents of young women getting an abortion, where they're being criminalized. And of course, the governor's removal of Andrew Warren, the Hillsborough state attorney, who said he would not criminalize anyone for ending their pregnancy, sends a message to all the prosecutors that if they make that decision, they'll be removed as well. So yeah, really, really bad stuff for sure.
Speaking of prosecution, is there any discussion of the said prosecution of those who have gone to another state to receive abortion care and then returning back to Florida?
Great question. So nothing in this bill would prohibit you physically traveling. However, the bill does prohibit any state institution or state contract from helping you pay for that trip. So the bill explicitly states that, for example, if you work for a government agency or a university, or maybe you work for a government contract, they in other states have said, we'll help you pay for travel for an abortion. This explicitly prohibits that. And so beyond that restriction, no one has filed a bill that I've seen in Florida to ban interstate travel for an abortion. But of course, it's something we're watching. And we're also asking the Biden administration to help to protect that interstate travel. So more to come in that regard, but nothing this bill would prohibit you from physically doing that. But of course, there's cost prohibitions if you work for a public employer, which is why abortion funds are so important right now, because abortion funds are nonprofit organizations that raise private dollars to help patients in those situations.
What are the best public places to give for nonprofits for abortion care?
So great question. I mean, you can always give directly to an abortion clinic like a Planned Parenthood. We also have 5 abortion funds right now in Florida, including Florida Access Network, Tampa Bay Abortion Fund, and so many others. And if you go to the Floridians for Reproductive Freedom website, you will see a list of all 5 abortion funds that you can donate to. And so I think giving directly to abortion funds is fantastic, because that is directly going to paying for services, paying for travel, and so forth.
Okay. And then one more. Since the majority of Americans were against the overturning of Roe versus Wade, how can these states keep pursuing it? That's from Nancy Cart.
Great question, Nancy. So, it's so important for us to remember that at the end of the day, this is all about control, right? Whether it's control in the classroom with policies like House Bill 999, where they're dictating what adults can learn in college, or policies like House Bill 1, which defunds public education, siphons away upwards of $2 to $4 billion to go to private schools where they don't teach evolution and where they can have no accountability whatsoever. Whether it's the bans on LGBTQ plus care and gender affirming care, where they're basically committing genocide on trans people and saying that you can't exist and we're not gonna let you have the medicine to exist. Or it's the big defamation bill right now that would allow for bigots to sue newspapers who explain that they're a bigot. Like, I mean, it's wild, but the one common theme in all of this is control, right? And so the same could be said for voter suppression. The same could be said for gerrymandering. And we have to remember that so many of the fights that we're having with abortion are the same fights for racial justice, the same fights for economic justice. Busting unions is also about control. They don't want workers to come together and say, we deserve better. Instead, they want workers to basically just, eat out of the hand of their bosses and have no opportunity to defend themselves or demand better. And so the fights for abortion rights coincide with the fights for voter rights. And when we see these states with these conservative governors and conservative majority lawmakers, the reality is that when you're given the chance to vote on just abortion, we see abortion as the winning issue. 2022 November was a tough night for Florida, but across the country we had wins. I was on a phone call the day after Tuesday, which by the way, I will brag a little bit, our district had 11% greater turnout than the rest of Orange County. So we do the work, and it definitely results in who comes out to vote. And based on our data, we won about 68% of NPAs as well. So we're doing what we can to really appeal to folks of, you know, all political backgrounds, which with abortion being one of our winning issues. But with that said, the day after the election, I was on a national call with Planned Parenthood and other abortion rights advocate groups, and they were celebrating. Like, people were celebrating, and I'm over here from Florida, like, oh God, you know, like, fuck DeSantis. But also we should take some sense of hope in that, because the American people are rejecting this BS. American people don't want more Trump. They don't want more DeSantis. So we have to raise the alarm bells for them, to remind them you don't want DeSantis. But the fact that when given the chance to vote on abortion, we win. And I will say that, you know, this is very, very preliminary conversations and very internal. So, like, don't go post this online. But, you know, there are conversations about a ballot amendment for abortion right now taking place in Florida, which is not going to be an easy process, because we'd have to collect 900,000 signatures, if not 1 million. And then you have to get through Supreme Court approval when you hit 250,000. And then you have to get 60% approval. The legislature is trying to increase that threshold to 66% right now. So none of this is a given, but that is something that we're also actively exploring, because if we do lose this fight in the legislature and we have a 6-week abortion ban, it hits a point where, you know, we gotta go big. We gotta go just do it, right? And so all that's on deck right now, all that's being explored, and more to come in that regard. As any campaign to do a ballot amendment has to be very strategic. You have to have the best lawyers, the best national partners, and raise millions of dollars. So a lot of that's in motion right now. So I know folks who are, you know, who want to help, I just ask you to stand by, you know, put your focus on session right now, but definitely see what comes next after that. And firstly, I saw a question about permaless carry, which I can also grab if you want me to, but
Absolutely. I was just about to say.
Yeah, I haven't talked about guns yet. So so frustrating. I will do that real quick, y'all. So, you know, I mean, it is just so frustrating. Florida has some of the loosest gun laws in the country, and now we're making it worse. Big thank you to anyone who's already come to Tallahassee to testify against permaless carry. I know many of you had, and I so appreciate that. March for Our Lives are actually hosting a rally on the 23rd in Tallahassee. So we're building the momentum. We're trying to continuously just alert Floridians to what's happening. And I saw a comment too about the Florida Sheriff Association. Very good point. You know, Florida Sheriff Association used to be against both permaless carry and open carry, but now, because they're buddy with DeSantis, they're endorsing this bill, even though there's no data to say it'll make any one of us more safe. No data. No one can provide any data to me at all that you adding more guns in my community is going to make us more safe. Like, it is just, it's all based. It's so ironic, because Democrats are often accused of the ones to, you know, be emotional. Like, they always accuse women of being too emotional. And yet you are literally pushing a bill that is purely based on emotion, like just your perception of the Second Amendment and what that should be for the rest of us. And the funny part about it is, if you testify in these committees or watch some of these committees, almost everyone is against the bill, but it's a breakdown of those of us that are like, you crazy, like, this is bad policy and more guns is not going to make us more safe. And then it's people who think it doesn't go far enough, who are like mad at the governor and are accusing him of lying because they don't consider it to go far enough, which, by the way, does make me nervous, because it makes me think that there could be a last minute amendment to convert this to open carry. So just as a reminder, like, bills can change overnight very quickly. And so we're going to, you know, continue to fight back and keep an eye on it. But the fact that there's such like aggro conservative opposition to the direction of the bill today, it does make me nervous that it could change on the House floor or something like that. So we'll obviously keep folks posted, keep up the phone calls. Moms Submit Action was here. So those who were there, I appreciate you as well. I know Linda was there, a few others. And so, you know, the grassroots fight is here, but we just have to keep the pressure on. And again, try to tell the country that you don't want this.
Just so that you know, every week since committee week, there is a new region or a new club that does go to Tallahassee, and we're sitting there in those committee meetings, and some of us are even brave enough to make comments, you know, to make public
Yes,
comments.
I love to
So
hear it.
just
That's
want you to,
amazing.
yeah, we just want you to know that we come every week, and we're just very, we're advocating for those that can't speak. That being said, there was someone who asked about, can you speak on no, I wanted to ask, I don't understand how law enforcement can be okay with this permitless carry and the open carry. How could the sheriff be sheriff's association and the constitutional care? How does that make sense to anyone?
Yeah, that math does not math up, right? It does not make any sense whatsoever. And I think a part of it is that the Florida Sheriff's Association is basically led by some of the most extreme sheriffs in the state. You have folks like Gutierrez and Pinellas and Grady Judge and Polk and Wayne Ivey and Brevard. Like, these are not reasonable people. Like, these are really just aggressively conservative and
Billy Woods in Marion County.
Yes, Billy Woods as well. 100%. Now, I will say my sheriff in Orange County actually came out publicly against this bill, which was like kind of a big deal. And a lot of my local chiefs don't like it either, but they're not brave enough to say anything about it. And so we do need more, especially law enforcement and former law enforcement, to come out and speak against it, because it does help shift the narrative. Because I think a lot of Republicans are taking cover under the Florida Sheriff's Association support. In fact, like Kathleen Pasadomo, the Senate president, literally said, well, if the sheriff support it, I support it. Like, she's kind of using that as her shield. So really, really, really important to help amplify the opposition there.
Okay, I want to change course a little bit. Can you answer as to, is there any chance that we can get Medicaid expansion passed? I mean, there's so many Floridians that are about to lose their health insurance after the pandemic.
Yeah, great question, Francine. After the emergency health order comes to an end, we're looking at millions of Floridians no longer having access to care. It is shameful. And again, I've said this before, but every culture war really is a class war, because culture wars not only are a distraction from these everyday issues that working class people are going through, but they make a bad situation worse, by not addressing health disparities that fall along racial lines, by not allowing us to examine the criminal justice field from a racial perspective, which we know has an effect on who's likely to be in prison or who's likely to be on death row compared to others. And so it's so important for us to always go back to the economics of society, whether it's the property insurance crisis, the huge rental rates we have, alongside people losing access to healthcare. So Medicaid expansion, policy has been filed, but it never moves. And there are conversations right now of a ballot amendment for Medicaid expansion. In fact, the 3 conversations that I have seen or have been privy to regarding ballot amendments have been Medicaid expansion, potential abortion one, and also, of course, recreational cannabis. Recreational cannabis has the most momentum right now because they have the most money. It's important to remember the reason why recreational cannabis is so well funded is because all of the cannabis companies want it, because they can make money off it, because it still will not allow you to grow your cannabis at home. You still would have to go buy it, from a vertically integrated company. Correct. So they're pumping lots of money because they see it as a way to expand their business model. But it's hard to find that same type of financial backing for Medicaid expansion. Though the hospitals in the past have been supportive, I don't know what their capacity is to do more. So we are hopeful there could be some momentum for Medicaid expansion ballot amendments. And I think that would be the only way in the current political climate for us to get it done.
Okay, Vivian Light Johnson asked a little twist here. What should we be looking for in the Ethnic Election and Open Government Committee meeting in the morning? They are there in Tallahassee this week.
Oh, that's
Orange
amazing.
County. Yes.
I love it, Vivian. Good to have you here. So there has not been a major voter suppression bill filed yet, right? And I say yet because I'm sure one is coming. And what they have done in the past is that they'll take another bill that is like really benign and non-controversial about elections, and they'll just like blow it up with something terrible. Because Florida also recently left ERIC. If those don't know, ERIC is like the election records system nationally. We left ERIC for no good reason beyond election lies, pushing Republicans to do that. I would be very worried that Florida sets some other new policy around our election records that could give conservatives more authority in purging voters more than they already have. So I would look out for any type of like committee bills that come out or amendments that happen on election bills. One policy I kind of alluded to earlier that is moving right now that does intersect with elections is increasing the threshold to pass a ballot amendment from 60% to 66%. And so that is a bill moving through right now. However, voters have to approve that change. So for us to increase the threshold from 60% to 66%, it requires voter approval, ironically, at 60%. So my hope is that if they do put this on the ballot, we can get enough voters to vote no on it so it doesn't actually pass. But that is another elections related issue to look out for. And then, like I said, there's also the big defamation bill that may go through the Ethics Commission as well. This is the policy that essentially allows easier suing of newspapers and media outlets if you feel like you've been offended by them, if they hurt your feelings or quoted someone calling you a bigot. It basically attempts to eliminate the First Amendment rights of media outlets by opening up the door for lawsuits. So a lot of policies that can intersect with that committee for sure.
I know that we have a ton of other questions, but I've just been told by Lauren that we have to let you go. We definitely wanted to ask you about union busting bills.
Well, I'll grab that real quick. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this is another really awful bill that we've seen before. And when I say we've seen it before, I mean, it's literally passed the House 4 years now, but it's never passed the Senate. So now we're very concerned that it's going to pass the Senate. And what this bill does is it specifically targets public unions.
Yes.
But it carves out fire and police, which are the predominantly, male-oriented unions. And the other public ones, teachers, sanitation workers, city workers, are going to be a lot of people of color, a lot of women. So you can see just the disparity, right, of who's targeted compared to who's not. With that said, it eliminates dues deductions. So your ability to join a union and have the dues just be automatically deducted completely eliminates that, which makes it very difficult for unions to sustain themselves and to organize, because trying to grab everyone's checks, once a month is not going to be feasible. And then also changes the threshold requirement to be a certified union. It changes font requirements for when you join a union. It puts this like really, big font and kind of like scary language to try to scare people from joining a union. It is disgusting. And we are very worried that's going to pass this year because of the supermajority in the House and the Senate.
Ooh, I wish we could end on a good note, but just know that we are there. We are going there every week. I'll be there the end of the month, but we are going there every week to advocate. And I will now give the floor to our president, Monica Reedus, to close us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, y'all. And I will drop my contact information in the chat in case folks want to talk to me more, but just so honored to join space. And thank you again, Francine, for moderating, and to our president, Reedus, for all your amazing leadership as well.
Well, we thank you so much.